who's really going to get the most out of a 15-inch subwoofer that claims 6500 RMS watts? Who should walk away and save their budget for a smaller system? And does the price actually make sense for the average car audio enthusiast who just wants some solid low-end without spending a fortune on a custom build? Those are the questions that keep most buyers up at night, especially when the internet is full of headline numbers and glossy marketing images. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's break down what the American Bass King 15-inch really does when you drop it into a typical ported box, what kind of listening experience you can expect on a daily commute, and where the trade-offs hide behind the massive power rating. First off, the biggest source of hesitation with a sub that advertises 15000W max is the whole power supply story. A lot of people assume that if a driver can handle that kind of wattage, you need a monster amplifier, a beefy battery, and a custom fabricated enclosure just to get it to sing. In reality, the max figure is a peak rating that most street-legal setups will never hit. What matters is RMS power handling and how efficiently the driver converts that power into audible bass. The King's 2 voice coil is a double-layer flat-wire design that lets you run it at lower voltages while still pulling serious current. In practice, that means a solid 1000 to 1500 watt RMS amp can drive it comfortably, and you'll still feel the punch without constantly fearing blown fuses. If you're the type of driver who already has a 12-inch sub in a sealed box and you've been dreaming about more room-shaking feel for hip-hop or EDM tracks, this 15-inch is a logical step up. Its carbon fiber cone with a foam surround is built for quick, tight response, so you'll notice that the bass hits faster than the lazy, mushy feel you sometimes get from larger, heavier cones. Real-world testers have reported that a well-tuned 15-inch in a ported enclosure of about 1.5 cubic feet can produce the sort of thump that makes a rear-seat passenger feel the beat in their chest, even at moderate volume. That's the sweet spot for people who want a visceral experience on highway drives or at a backyard car meet, but who still need to keep the overall system size reasonable. On the flip side, if your daily routine is a commuter in a compact sedan and you're more interested in clean mids and a subtle bass boost rather than a full-blown rumble, you might be better off with a 12-inch or even a 10-inch unit. The King's 12.2-inch mounting depth means the driver sits deep in the trunk, and you'll need a cutout of roughly 13.8 inches. That's a lot of space to carve out, especially if you're already dealing with a spare tire well, fuel tank, or rear seat fold-down mechanism. In a tight cargo area, you could end up compromising storage or having to relocate other components just to make the sub fit. For a lot of everyday drivers, that compromise outweighs the extra bass punch. One practical strength that often gets buried in the spec sheet is the advanced cooling system. The King uses a black anodized tie-oak that directly channels heat away from the voice coil. In real-world use, that translates to less heat soak during long highway stretches where you might be running the sub at higher volumes for an hour or more. I've seen owners who keep their amps cranked for a full playlist of bass-heavy songs report that the sub stays cool enough that the sound doesn't start to distort, even after a marathon road trip. That's a direct benefit of the cooling design, not just a marketing buzzword. However, there's a hidden trade-off tied to that cooling system. It adds a little extra weight to the basket. The whole driver clocks in at around 613 ounces, which isn't a problem for a stationary installation, but it does mean the rear of the vehicle can feel slightly heavier when the trunk is full. In a performance-oriented car where weight distribution matters, some builders choose lighter 13-inch alternatives to keep the balance neutral. If you're planning on track days or aggressive handling, the extra mass could be a consideration. Another everyday usability point is wiring. A 2-load draws more current than a 4 counterpart, so you'll need gauge-appropriate speaker wire and a robust ground strap. Skimping on wire size can lead to voltage drop, which in turn makes the sub sound weak or cause the amp to overheat. It's a detail that novice installers sometimes overlook, and the result is a frustrating experience where the sub seems underpowered despite a hefty amplifier. The good news is that most modern amp manufacturers include 2 stable models, and a quick check of the amp's manual will tell you the recommended wire gauge. It's an extra step, but it's manageable for anyone comfortable with basic car audio wiring. Let's talk value. The headline numbers 6500 RMS watts, 15,000 W peak, 4.5-inch voice coil are eye-catching, but the actual cost you're paying is for a driver that can handle